Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Before we begin today, a reminder that our next week's special begins this Monday. Our week dedicated to the enemies of the Imperium, giving them their time to shine. However, with that said, on to today. Today we're discussing the resurrection of the Emperor and the fears of Guilliman. General spoiler warning to begin, as today we will be discussing events from across the Warhammer 40k universe, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, earlier in the week we spoke about the possible upcoming encounter between the Silent King and Roboute Guilliman. How it appears we could finally have these two big names of the current lore coming face to face, or at least hopefully get some form of interaction between the two. And in excited theories of speculating where this could go, I asked if maybe we could see Guilliman using the Necron technology of the Nexus against his father, the Emperor of Mankind. And a particular comment caught my eye after, asking why I would say Guilliman wants to fight his father. And that wasn't quite what I meant, because I don't think he does. It was more just speculating around his clear concerns regarding the Emperor's divinity, because they are very evident. And this is Guilliman we're talking about, who has theoreticals for absolutely everything, who even had them on how to defeat each one of his brothers when they were still in the Great Crusade, long before the heresy seemed even remotely possible. But this is what I love about chatting lore, how one thing can spark a deeper conversation, as that comment really sparked my imagination into thinking about it more, about why Guilliman would be interested in the Necron technology. And well, that's what we're going to be discussing today, with the Emperor's resurrection. Obviously, before we go any further, this is just our usual fun theory discussions. I'm not saying this is going to happen or possibly even likely, we're just talking theories. Now, when throwing out the idea of Guilliman possibly wanting to use Necron technology, and even possibly involving his father, it isn't a theory out of completely nowhere, as there is actually a reference to his interest in the Necrons within the lore. The last real sight we have had of Guilliman timeline-wise is the Dark Imperium trilogy, and obviously the Awakened Emperor is a huge piece of that narrative. From the first installment we learnt that Guilliman not only did speak with his father, but that he was very disappointed in how it went. He conceded the Emperor is possibly more powerful than ever, but that whatever remains of him has lost all of its humanity. In the next installment, Plague Wars, we saw the Emperor seemingly possess a young girl, saving Guilliman in his confrontation with Mortarion and the forces of Nurgle, something which actually infuriated Guilliman, seeing only a young girl's life taken away by uncontrolled psychic power. And finally, in Godblight, we saw for the first time the events of Guilliman's reunion within the throne room, or at least one recollection of it. We also saw the Emperor appear to possess Guilliman himself, bringing him back from death, humbling Mortarion and burning the Garden of Nurgle. And it was this event that finally seemed to have Guilliman accept the reality of the situation, that the Emperor could in fact be becoming a god. Though he wouldn't admit this in public, his thoughts became clear with his discussion with the cool inferior, Belisarius's wink wink nod nod not blasphemous AI machine. And I dare say Guilliman having these concerns is completely understandable, given the Emperor himself demanded the imperial truth, telling Guilliman from his own lips that there are no gods. And this is where the Emperor's resurrection and Guilliman'S possible failsafe may come into play. In debating the Emperor's godhood with the Cool Inferior, Guilliman asked Cool if it would be theoretically possible to resurrect the Emperor. Do you believe he can come back? Can he be returned to full life like I was? Now, rather than a yes or a no, the Cool Inferior simply gave Guilliman a warning that if possible, whatever exited the throne may not be what entered it. That even the very line of thinking was extremely dangerous, because all gods are blights on existence, whether they call themselves gods or not. Now, I'd expect this is most likely going to somehow link into the Star Child theory, which made a re-emergence into the lore with the Dawn of Fire series. But of course, only time will tell. The interesting point for me is why Guilliman raises the topic, why he wants Belisarius's advice on if it's possible. Of course, the most likely situation is simply because Guilliman wants the Emperor back, the man he knew previously. It'd be by far and away the best thing ever for the Imperium, and for him. However, I certainly don't think it's impossible to rule out. It's more motivated by Guilliman's growing fears, his concerns. That Guilliman could well be hoping that resurrecting the Emperor would return him back to the man he was previously, to contain his power, this evolution of what he's becoming, back within his father's original mind and body. And I think that's exactly why Cool gave the warning he did, that even if it were possible, the Emperor that could emerge from the throne once more may not be the man who Guilliman knew previously. His mind, his personality, could be radically changed, which could be a big problem. I don't think for one second Guilliman fears the Emperor's intentions. It's clear he is, as he always was, completely dedicated to the eradication of chaos. However, I do think Guilliman is extremely uncomfortable with the mere notion of the Emperor becoming a god, reaching a point he himself can no longer deny. Guilliman fears the unknown element, that this new version of the Emperor could take actions the man he knew before, the father he knew, would not. I think the burnt-out young girl saint from Plague Wars, dying from the overwhelming power, is a perfect example of that, at least in Guilliman's eyes. He also makes it very clear to the Cool Inferior that it wasn't the Emperor working with him when he faced Mortarion, but rather through him. Guilliman, as all his brothers, was made to understand the material universe, not the immaterial. Such as Malcador told his brother Rogel, you were not told about the ruinous powers and the immaterium because you were not made to be able to fully comprehend it. Not being able to truly understand it would lead the Primarchs to try and master it. Only one brother was told from the very beginning, and it wasn't Guilliman. The Emperor has become a being of the immaterium as much as the material universe, if not more so. He's really only tied to the physical world by the Golden Throne, and it's just something Guilliman simply can't completely understand. And that, no matter what, will cause him no end of concern, even though he knows the Emperor wants nothing more than the destruction of chaos. It was evident with him expressing the power working through him rather than with him. I fear the Emperor may be moving, I fear that he worked through me. Guilliman fears the Emperor being a god. That is why Guilliman brought up the topic of bringing the Emperor back to life. To prevent it from happening. To bring him back to the material world. Because the alternative is something Guilliman simply can't understand. We've already seen him being drawn to try, such as Malcador predicted, with Guilliman's reading of the Book of Lorgar, the original text proclaiming the Emperor as a god. And this is why I don't think it's so incredulous that Guilliman is interested in the Necron's anti-warp technology. There's already been a hint of Guilliman's intent already. After the events of Mortarian's defeat, before he meets with the Call Inferior, Guilliman speaks with Tetrarch Decimus Felix about his desire to contain chaos. And keenly, he doesn't just stop there. The Necrons and the Eldar know things we do not, about the nature of the warp and the Emperor. Somewhere, amid the excesses of them all, a solution can be found. As revealed by his own words, Guilliman fears the Emperor has become a god. He fears he is acting out across the galaxy. And as could be very easily interpreted from these words, he wants to find a solution to it. For me, that solution could very well be found within the Necron's technology. Guilliman doesn't want to fight his father. They are on the same side. But he does want to stop his godhood. He does want to stop him acting within the galaxy. With Guilliman heading to the Nephilim anomaly, a possible meeting with the Silent King, could we be about to see the next stage of Guilliman's thinking unfold? I think it is definitely possible, and something I am very excited to see unfold. But as always everyone, what do you think? Why do you think Guilliman fears the Emperor becoming a god? Why do you think he fears him acting upon the galaxy, even though it is quite clearly against the forces of chaos? Why would Guilliman still fear this? With the Primarch looking for a solution, do you think it could lead him towards the Necron's technology? Could he in some way wish to use it, once finding out about it, to contain the Emperor to the Golden Throne? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? With that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.